One day, there was a chicken named Moki. Moki was a very brave chicken. He feared nothing and no one. But one thing sent shivers down his spine: the day Friday. No one knew why Moki was so afraid of Friday, but every time Friday came around, you could see Moki engulfed by fear and anxiety. One regular Thursday, as Moki was going about his day, plucking seeds from the ground and muscling the other chickens in the pen, he felt something was off. He shrugged it off as nothing but a sudden change in the air, since he knew it wasn't Friday yet. So there was nothing to fear, or so he thought. Moki walked out of the pen to see what was going on, and he saw something, or someone, tall as a building, towering over them. A dark figure with glowing red eyes, elongated arms, and a creepy smile on its face. Moki stepped back, but he was fearless and tried to ignore the lingering threat in front of him. The other chickens trembled in fear, and others ran away from the sight, but Moki knew that he would be fine as it was still Thursday. It was not yet Friday. But he couldn't change the fact that it was right there, staring at them, and who knew what it would do next. A few minutes later, the thing left without doing anything to Moki or the other chickens. The terror had ended, or so they thought. The next morning, it was Friday. Moki was once again on edge. He knew that if that figure returned today, it would be over, not only for him, but for everyone in the pen. So Moki devised a plan to escape the pen for good. Moki clucked to the other chickens about his plan to escape, but the others were hesitant to go with him, as they knew it was more dangerous outside the pen. But Moki insisted that it would be the same fate if they stayed. They would end up as food for the giant ones. The others decided they would join Moki in their escape. They would start their plan before sundown, because when the sun goes down, you go down. Moki and the others initiated the plan. They first bundled together and toppled over a bucket from inside the pen to cover themselves with it, planning to move slowly and sneakily. Their goal was to reach the edge of the fence, where it was unusually lower than the rest. With that and the bucket, they could jump over it. But first, they had to move and get outside the pen with the bucket. But to everyone's surprise, when they reached the doorframe, the bucket wouldn't fit, and they had already made a lot of noise by banging the bucket against the doorframe. So Moki needed to think of another plan. Moki stepped out of the bucket to check if the outside was safe. That's when he saw a flashlight right beside the doorframe. He took it and went back inside the bucket to tell the other chickens the new plan. Moki said they needed to make the bucket stand so it would fit through the doorframe. Without it, they wouldn't be able to jump over the fence. And so they did. It was hard, and they made more than enough noise to turn the lights on in the pen. They knew it would be more dangerous up ahead, because if the light touched even one of them, they were done. But Moki was brave and told the others not to worry, they would escape. They just had to stick together and stick with the plan. Moki then rallied the others to press forward and push the objective. And so they did. They managed to push the bucket outside the doorframe, but as it toppled over again, it flipped to the other side, leaving all of them out of cover. Moki told the other chickens that they had to flip the bucket over again for cover, but the others already trembled in fear as they saw something from afar. The giant had returned, this time with a net, ready to grab any chicken in sight. Moki and the other chickens rushed to turn the bucket over, and they quickly did so out of fear. Moki told the other chickens to rush over to the other side of the fence while dodging the lights scattered around the field. And in a moment's notice, they reached the end of the fence, and everyone let out a sigh of relief. But it wasn't over yet until they got over the fence. Moki told the others to move as quickly as possible. To take responsibility, Moki told the others that he would stay until the very last chicken had hopped outside the fence. Then he, too, would follow. The other chickens agreed and started going over the fence one by one. But then the giant saw them and moved swiftly in their direction. Fortunately, the giant was still far from the field, so it would take time before it reached them. Moki was afraid, but he braved it up for everyone. But as everyone was hopping over the fence, they saw another giant inside the pen. Apparently, the first giant had called for another one to check the pen. As the new giant saw what was happening at the fence, Moki, now with fear all over him, rushed everyone to jump over quickly. As the very last one hopped out, Moki was getting ready to jump over the bucket. And as he did, Moki floated further than the bucket. And as he turned around, the giant was grabbing him, anger on its face. Moki passed out, holding on to his dear flashlight. The next thing Moki knew, he was in a dark room with a red tint and the smell of iron rust. Moki knew where he was, as he had feared this day for as long as he could remember. Moki remembered when he was just a chick, his mother was taken to this exact place. But Moki had held onto his mother so tightly that he was with her when she was taken. Moki witnessed everything that happened, from the little giant girl screaming "Friday" to the knife slitting his mother's throat. It was horrifying. It was terrible. Moki did not know what to do. But then the giant grabbed Moki and tossed him back into the pen. From that day forward, Moki feared Friday. He knew what would happen on Friday. And as Moki snapped back to reality, he found himself tied to a chopping block, with nothing but his flashlight with him. The room was dark with a red tint, and there was no giant in sight. Moki quickly maneuvered to escape the rope tying him down. And as he did, not far from where he was, a bloody knife was shining through the dim light. He moved swiftly to grab the knife, trying to maneuver through the darkness. He stumbled upon a gruesome scene, a chicken, lying on the ground, headless. But somehow, it was still moving, covered in its own blood, still trying to peck around even though it had no head anymore. Moki stepped back in fear. But he knew what he had to do. He had to get to the knife to defend himself from what was coming. But as he passed through the darkness, Moki noticed footsteps. Different from the giant's, more relentless and faster. As Moki's eyes adjusted to the darkness, he saw something towering over him. It was a dog, a black one with pointed ears and saliva dripping from its mouth. Moki ran from the dog and managed to hop somewhere out of its reach. But sadly, the headless chicken below was devoured by the dog. Moki knew that if he ever got caught, it was over for him. But Moki had to jump over the dog to reach the knife. The dog barks at Moki, and this alarmed the giant to their location. Moki knew he had to act quickly for him to have a fighting chance against the giant. So Moki braved up and jumped over the ledge to the other table, and was able to reach the knife without a problem. Or so he thought. When Moki grabbed the knife, the door of the room opened. The giant was there, standing and scanning the place. He first went over to the dog, petted it, and the dog gladly licked him and went outside of the room. And from that moment, the giant looked on the chopping block, noticing that Moki is gone. He was furious. But Moki was able to take cover on the very end of the table, where there is a toolbox blocking the giant's sights. The giant started speaking to Moki, as if trying to convince Moki to go out, but Moki knows what will happen if ever he stepped out, even for a little bit. The giant stated that, "The friends you helped to escape the pen, they perished because of you. You know that outside the pen is more dangerous than the inside. I watched them get chowed down by the hungry wolves outside the pen, and you led them right through that. This is all your fault." Moki trembled with fear, realizing that he guided his other chicken friends to doom, and they all perished because of him. He's now questioning himself. What have he done? Moki is losing hope every minute. The giant also stated that no matter where you go from here. The ending is the same. You will always be a food for us. You're nothing but a sustenance for our survival." Moki, having enough of what's happening, clenched onto the knife he had obtained and rushed over to the giant. The giant smirked as he let Moki stab him. The giant was laughing as if he did not got stabbed, but the moments after that is too grim to even tell. The giant grabbed Moki's neck and strangled him, and threw Moki at the other side of the room. Moki is now battered, fearful, and depressed over what happened and the sudden realization he had. But Moki still wants to fight, so he stood up and charged again to the giant, this time with his flashlight. The giant kept on laughing as he called the dog back over to chase after Moki. The dog was not able to get Moki because Moki is agile and smart. But one thing he did not outsmart is the giant. He was too focused on running away from the dog. Moki did not realize that he is at the footsteps of the giant. The giant grabbed him by his neck and used the knife that Moki used to stab the giant to finally deal the final blow to Moki. Moki passed out for the very last time. The hunt was over, and the days went on as if nothing happened. Thank you for tuning in. Please leave a like and subscribe. I will see you again next week. And happy April Fools, ha ha ha.